This is Building Lifestyles, a show designed to help everyday Australians create a lifestyle that inspires them using property development strategies. On the show, you'll hear from everyday people changing their lives doing property development. You'll learn from their successes as well as some of the challenges they've faced along the way. We also talk to experts from a range of fields who share specialised techniques that you can use to accelerate your property journey. I'm your host, Amanda McEwen, and I'm the founder of The Rising Star Developer, and I'm really passionate about helping everyday Australians build lifestyle using property development. Welcome back to Building Lifestyles. Today we meet a visionary shaping the financial landscape. I'm thrilled to have a true pioneer in the space of small business finance, Scott Trevethan, founder and managing director of Financial Fanatics. Scott doesn't just do bookkeeping, he transforms businesses into profit and cash-making machines. Imagine killing debt, taking home real profits, upgrading holidays and paying for school fees, all while working less for your business and more for yourself. Scott's not just a solopreneur. He leads a powerhouse team of 100 plus in Cebu, Philippines, dedicated to serving small business heroes and accountants alike. Not only is he an incredibly successful business owner, Scott and his wife are living the true digital nomad life on their sailing catamaran around Australia. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's sail into the world of financial empowerment. So please help me welcome Scott Trevethan.
Well, thanks for that very much, Amanda. I really appreciate that welcome, and it's lovely to be talking with you today.
And quite appropriate that we're doing this while you've got the view of the catamaran behind you. So we're really demonstrating you're living the true nomad life.
Absolutely. We live, we work, everything from our catamaran, and we don't like the view, we just move.
Oh, that sounds incredible. At the moment, as we're recording, you're in Magnetic Island, is that right?
That's right. We're in Horseshoe Bay, a beautiful part of the world. Heading north, we're actually hitting Indonesia in July. So the true digital nomad lifestyle, that's for sure.
Oh, that sounds incredible. And before we get into some questions, I'd love to know, how did you enable that lifestyle, being able to run such a hugely successful business while, floating around and living your dream lifestyle?
Well, I think I'm fortunate in a lot of ways, Amanda, in that the type of business that I have, which is where my wife and I are the only ones in Australia that work on the business. And so we've developed a team and an organizational structure that runs the day-to-day operations in our offices in Cebu in the Philippines. So it was kind of mandatory to get that all in place, especially over COVID, where we realized that I couldn't just jump on a plane and solve any problem. I needed to rely on a team over there and have proper structures and reporting processes in place. So that was really the catalyst, the COVID environment. We went to a thing called Entrepreneur Operating System back then, and never looked backwards really. So that my wife and I sort of looked at our lifestyle, saying, we could really work anywhere. So why don't we do that? And we're an adventurous couple, and so we got a boat and off we go. So with and Starlink, things like that, all of the pieces have to fit together at the right time, right? So we're using Starlink at the moment because it's overcast and the telecommunications aren't that great. All those pieces fit in place for us. So we're very, very fortunate to be in this position that we can work from the boat. So
that sounds incredible. And so how does your typical day work out? So do you just allocate a small portion of your day to run your business? Or I'd love to get some insight into that.
Yeah, we do. So generally speaking, we've got Mondays and Tuesdays dedicated to meetings with the team. I'll often meet with potentially new clients progressively over the week. So that's on an as needs basis. My wife is our integrator or general manager, if you like, and she will have meetings with the team, coaching sessions with our leadership team, and also attend some of their internal meetings as well to help them along that journey. So it's all about empowering our team to then get the results that we're looking for overall. I'm also the CFO, so I do the money things because I'm a bean counter at heart. So I love to do the money things, and I'll do that every Monday morning. I am a passionate supporter of profit first, as you might have mentioned in your introduction, which means that every Monday I get in and I do the transfers around the place and make sure that everything looks like it should be looking, that we're building up those cash balances to enable us to support the business, but also support our lifestyle as well. So sections of the week allocated to the business and then on as needs for the rest of the week.
Yeah, okay, that sounds such an amazing way of really designing work around your lifestyle, which is an inspiration to all of us. I'd love to know, have you always worked with your wife, and how does that balance out? And the reason I ask that is my husband's recently joined my business, and we're sort of working at navigating through who's doing what. So what's worked well in terms of working with your partner, because that'll be interesting to a lot of people as well.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting one, Amanda, because she was in a completely different career before and then found herself at a bit of a loose end. This is not while we're on the boat, where we're living in a land-based apartment in Melbourne. And I said, well, if you're not really doing anything right now, I wouldn't mind you doing some systems-based contract work for the business. So she did that, and she was completely effective in doing that. We've got amazing systems and processes that we've put in place, or that she's really been instrumental at driving. So that went really well. And then it was sort of a natural evolution to say, hey, you know what? Why don't you take over that integrator role, which is like a general manager type of role, and that will support me. It's been really, really fantastic. Sometimes when I'm having the chairman or CEO conversation with my GM and things aren't going great, then I think she's an amazing, amazing person, because she has the ability to not take this personally. This is not her husband having a go at a wife. It's a business owner having a go or trying to understand what's going on to his general manager. So I think she's a very special kind of person for that, but it's going really, really well. And and also the fact that she is now so ingrained in the business, she understands where our pressures are, what we're trying to achieve, what we're doing, what's working really well, what's not working well. So we don't need that extra level of communication.
Yeah, I love how you've mentioned there that when you have those conversations, and in business, you generally will have at some stage have some challenging conversations when things don't always go according to plan. I love how you just mentioned, okay, we're having a CEO and a GM conversation, completely taking it away from a personal. I think that is a really obviously one of the success reasons why you work together so well.
Yeah, and I know if the roles were reversed, I know I would struggle at that. I think she's a very special kind of person for being able to really be able to do that. So I am very, very lucky, as I mentioned before.
No, that sounds great. Partner in business and partner in life. That's fantastic. So let's get into more finance-based questions. So you've described yourself as a profit-first professional, and not everyone who's listening to this will understand what that means. So can you just share with the audience, what does profit-first actually mean, and how does that actually set you apart in the world of small business finance?
Oh, dangerous question, but I will limit that answer to less than 60 minutes. But Profit First is a system of financially managing your business that Michael Michalowicz codified, if you like, and put into a book format. And then he started up these Profit First organizations, which are accountants and financial planners and business coaches and other people who come together and help their clients get into the system, which is a very simple system, but it's not necessarily easy to set up and operate from the ground up. So these professionals will come in and help their clients to implement that profit first system. So it's just like envelope accounting. So it's basically saying X percentage of the income that comes into your bank account from your customers or clients gets allocated into different areas. Some of it to profit, that's the first one to allocate it to, and then others to your owner's compensation, to tax or GST to make sure that you've always got funds there, and then to your operating expenses. The theory behind it, and I will limit it to this, the theory behind it is that it's like a tube of toothpaste. If you don't have a lot of toothpaste in the tube, you really squeeze it out. And it's the same with expenses. If you don't have a lot of money in your account to pay your expenses, then you really make them go a little bit further. And therefore, you're making more profit. So it's a real focus on profitability rather than just sales, which I think can be a real problem for business owners in this day and age.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I have read that book, and what I found quite interesting having read it was it does flip the whole philosophy around business to really look at the profit side of it rather than just the revenue, because you can't live off necessarily just revenue. But also what I liked about it was the whole management of your cash, and like you're paying yourself first with profit, but also you've got that little kitty of cash set aside for tax, which quite often can burn small business owners if they haven't accounted for that. So they know that when they get those big tax bills, bills, if you're making lots of money, which you tend to get those big tax bills, you know that you've got the cash there to pay for it. And that just takes a lot of weight off your shoulders as a business owner, knowing you've got those, you're actually making money and putting money into your pocket, but you've also can deal with your financial obligations as and when they fall due. And I think when you're running a business, having that comfort and that visibility enables you to make better financial decisions.
Oh, absolutely. And look, this is, I am a chartered accountant, and this is anti-chartered accountant in some ways, because you've got to consider it. Michael Michalowicz says in his book, you've got to consider it. That money doesn't belong to you. That money belongs to the tax office. So you don't use it. Don't put it off your mortgage or do something fancy with it or use it as working capital, because it will come around and bite you in the end. You're much, much better off, not running this Ponzi scheme that I used to operate. I didn't realize that I was paying this last quarter's BAS bill with this quarter's collections. And I'm like, well, that's just like a Ponzi scheme, right? If I stop collecting, I'm not going to have enough money to pay this. So getting in front, getting that money allocated, put aside, geez, it's so empowering, man. It unbelievably changes your whole, because you're not worried about it anymore. You've got the cash right there. So just having that change of mindset, it's not your money, so don't have it there. You've got your money sitting in your profit account or you're operating your owner's compensation account. So you're well taken care of.
Yeah. And I think, and you would know, being a small business owner as well, when you are a small business owner, you're wearing so many hats, and you've got the financial side of your business that you're considering, but then there's the operational side, and then the sales, business development side. And if you don't have good systems and good strategies to manage the financial side, that really does inhibit the growth and also you as an owner, your ability to be able to enjoy what you do, because inevitably you'll get burnt out, stressed out, because you're just wearing so many hats. So the more you can systemize chunks of your business and certainly know that you've got a financially well-structured business, that really does provide that longevity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing. So people may wonder, how can bookkeeping be a passion? So what inspired you to focus on mainly the bookkeeping side and helping business owners with financial challenges around that?
So I ran my own accounting firm for around about 16 years. It was called Scott Partners, but it was no relation to me. And it had a number of partners, and I ended up being the last partner standing on it. And at first I was like, okay, I used to run a small business. I worked in corporates, very big multinational corporates, and then I ran my own cafe, which was a complete disaster. But it was a disaster in my mind. And when I looked around at other people's small businesses, they said, what are you complaining about? This is just reality of small businesses. We just don't earn much money. I'm like, but I'm only making less than $20 an hour. And they said, that's a good day for us. And I'm like, wow, these people give up everything. They give up their heart and soul. They give up their, the sleepless nights. They're paying employees. They're doing all of that sort of stuff. And their return is still a lot less than, what it would be if they just went and got a job somewhere else. So I became passionate about trying to help small business. I realized that my accounting business just had sort of morphed its way, which it just tends to do, into a tax and compliance business, which means we were just really focused on getting tax returns done and, work cover reconciliations, payroll tax, all that sort of stuff, which is very essential, but doesn't really help a business drive forward. And every time I'd be like, oh, let's change the conversation to how we can help your business, it really didn't fit well with the client. So what I found with bookkeeping, and we started up Financial Fanatics as sort of a sidearm to the accounting practice, and then it quickly became my passion project. And then I got rid of I sold the accounting firm to people who are passionate about tax. And then I can be passionate about really helping business owners, stay on top of their financial management, because that's what it's all about, right? Without proper financial management in place, you're really focusing on something that may not have the longevity in your business. If it's sales because you're a really good salesperson, then that's great. But are you making any profits? Are you keeping enough cash for your tax? As we've said, if it's operational stuff, like, there's technicians, and the E-Myth sort of brought this out with Michael Gerber a long time ago that said, most entrepreneurs, accidental entrepreneurs, they're really technicians. So if they're a lawyer or an accountant or a doctor, they're really focusing on what they're good at without really running a business. So I think bookkeeping really helps at that grassroots level a client see what's going on and helps them with their day-to-day financial management, which can help them make better decisions to improve those businesses, to improve their lifestyle.
Yeah. And look, having transitioned over to your business, I'm not sure how long ago it was now, but yeah, I've noticed personally to be able to take the weight of not worrying about any of that bookkeeping and just hand it over to someone who does it so well. It's been incredible. And I've also had got some incredible students that I work with. And I know one student that you've spoken to recently. And when I started working with her, oh my goodness, she's such an incredible woman, has so many balls in the air, managing huge businesses and huge portfolios. Yep. And when we first started talking, she was so frazzled because beginning of her month, she just had transactions coming from everywhere. And she was just, her levels of anxiety were so high because of all the balls that she was juggling. And she was doing a lot of that herself. And we had some conversations and she got everything onto Xero and got things across to you and actually spoke to her last week. And oh my goodness, the difference I could see in the way that she spoke, like it was almost like a massive weight had been lifted off her shoulders. And what I was also really pleased about is she said to me, you know what, Amanda, this month I'm actually meeting with my accountant and we're talking about the future of our business. She goes, you know what, in all the years that I've been running businesses and had my portfolio and stuff like that, I've never been able to do that because I've been chasing my tail and I haven't had that clarity of the numbers there to be able to then sit down and actually make some better decisions. And so I've seen the impact of myself, but then seeing the impact of other people as well, and especially just her physically and the clarity that she has got. Like, I am just so excited to see where she takes her businesses just by having such a simple part of her business now under control and having that visibility to really then make better decisions. Yeah, I can understand where that passion comes from.
Oh, thank you, Anna. I'm levitating now with joy. I think that's exactly what that's my mission in life, is to help business owners make that transition from, oh my God, it's just a really messy, hard job that I don't want to do, into, okay, this is giving me some amazing information and now I can have that conversation with my accountant. That's just so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. So your journey began in the era of paper receipts. So how have you seen technology evolve in the accounting and the bookkeeping space? And I mean, I've shared an example of how it's impacted some of my students, but how are you seeing the use of technology now streamlining and changing the whole accounting and bookkeeping space?
It's just been absolutely revolutionary from an accountant's perspective. So there was a group of accountants that sat on a beach in New Zealand and said, could things, now that the internet is a thing, could things be different? They agreed that they could. They started writing a software system. They called it Xero, and it has revolutionized the accounting processes. All of the major accounting companies have followed that, but cloud-based real-time accounting systems have meant that your accountant and bookkeeper can do what they need to do. They can do it remotely. They can keep you up to date always. No longer batch processing is necessary. You don't need to wait for your bookkeeper to come into your office once a week and sort through all your paperwork and add things into your file. And you go, okay, that's great. And then you're waiting for your accountant to come back with the changes that they make from their year-end process, which is 18 months behind. You're always up to date. And I think that's a massive benefit that we've got for today's business owners compared to even 20 years ago. You just couldn't dream of that. And now we've got new technology coming on with AI. The big accounting software companies are really fighting really, really hard to make things even more streamlined. So whether there's and I love Xero's not trying to build everything into their product. They work with an ecosystem of other apps that are industry specific, built for purpose. You don't need lots and lots of spreadsheets anymore. You got these things that really fit in, and they'll streamline into something like Xero so that everything's streamlined. And through the use of AI, we'll hopefully get better intuition from those accounts and better and easier processing and things like that. The one stumbling block with bookkeeping and accounting in general is that every business is different. Even franchise businesses are run slightly different. So And because business owners are business owners because they want to run their own show, they don't want to be told how to set things up and how to do this. And this is, you should pay on a Tuesday and you need to do this. So everyone is different. So that's why machine learning or AI is taking a little while to come to the fore. But when it does, it'll be even easier and more intuitive for business owners than ever before. So I think technology is, wow, it's been amazing in the last 20 years. Can't wait to see what it provides in the next 20.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by the growth of AI. So I eagerly wait to see how AI helps on the financial side as well, which would be great.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned about turning underperforming businesses into profit and cash-making machines. Can you share? I shared a success story, but I'd love to hear one from you about the impact that you've had just by being able to manage a client's business better using bookkeeping.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and lots of different clients will come to us with lots of different, some of them have got external bookkeepers or they've had them in place for a large number of years and they're really on top of everything. Others are kind of like been doing it themselves and sort of struggling to try and, come to grips with what it is that they are attempting to get in place. One just recently, a client sort of reached out to us and said, yeah, their bookkeeper or their accountant was, everything was in such a mess. Everything was in such a flux. Their accountant was like, I don't even know how to do your business activity statements because everything is incorrect. We were working with them for 3 months, got everything up to date, everything just perfectly. And the accountant was able to come back and say, oh, thank goodness, for the first time, I can actually see what's going on. We can lodge the accounts properly. And that's meant that, as I say, they can have those conversations with their accountants to really move forwards with giving better advice on the business. Now, in some cases, that's sadly going to mean the accountant saying, you know what, you'd be better off getting a job. So we're not promising that this information is always going to be good news. With Profit First, if they're utilizing the Profit First system, and many of our clients are utilizing either the full Profit First system or their own sort of way of doing it, which I encourage, to do the full system because I think you get the full benefits if you do. But if you, just setting aside some money for tax, I think that's even better as well. And we've just seen, the change of people's mindsets when they have that money put aside all of a sudden, and they're focusing a little bit more on profits rather than sales, that their business turnovers are just, expanding exponentially. So I can't give you a specific example, but definitely from a broad range of the clients, there's all sorts of ways that we've been able to positively benefit their businesses and their cash flow as well.
Okay, that sounds good. So from a risk perspective, is my husband coming into my thought process here? He's a risk-averse one. So if I'm a new client, how do I manage the risk and security of all my data when I'm using a service like Fanatics and offshore bookkeeping?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question, and one that business owners, unless you're dealing with client information, don't really cover that much. Because if you've got client information, like you're an accountant or a bookkeeper or even a doctor or a lawyer, you've got lots of client confidential information that might come in as part of your accounting system, then you're under the privacy pillars required to make sure that that data is being secured appropriately. And if you are using an offshore service, then you need to make sure that that offshore service is handling things securely. We know that, cloud accounting, we're all used to as business owners, the security that people like Xero put in place and where their servers are, and hopefully that's very, very secure. In terms of what we do to protect our clients, we are an Australian business with a Philippines company that we wholly own doing the work. We're all working in the office, so we don't have anyone home-based. I think that's important. We haven't got the technology yet. I know a lot of people who use home-based believe that we have, but I don't believe we have from a financial perspective to have that technology in place to ensure that your data is being treated correctly. So once we're in the office, we know it's only our team members that have been vetted that are going to be looking at the screen. They're the ones that have got access to your accounts and nobody else. And of course, people like Xero, doesn't have to be Xero, others have as well. There's great audit trails on who does what. So we've always got that level of assuredness that if someone went in and did something wrong, then we can trace that back to who that was. So we're working in the office. We're making sure our team are well supervised and well trained. We're a Xero Platinum partner and do a lot in my other QuickBooks space as well. So we're very, very highly proficient in it. And the security is there through that physical security of working in the office as well as we're working on the client's cloud accounting. The other thing I should say too about that, Amanda, is we are an Australian business, and I always mention this and people like sort of cringe when I say it, but we are an Australian business, which means we have indemnity insurance. The contract is with an Australian business. You've got someone to sue if things go horribly wrong. And we make sure that things don't go wrong, but if you do, we have insurance. We're not like an offshore person that's just, there's no one to sue because you're never going to win against the Philippines or an individual, but you can win against the company that's set up in Australia. So that's the way that we handle that risk side of things.
Yeah, and hopefully that never happens, but you've always got to have those processes in place, to protect yourself and also your clients. So it's good to hear you've got that all structure there and set up. So as a digital nomad living on a sailing catamaran, which just sounds amazing, how has this lifestyle influenced your approach to business, and what lessons have you learned from combining work with adventure?
Wow, a great question. I think the thing is, how can the prevailing mindset is, how can I work less and have more fun? It can get difficult at times when the weather window opens up, but I've got meetings to do something else. So I'm like, I need to travel now, but I've got to work, so I'll have to sacrifice traveling. I may not be able to travel for another few days. So from an adventuring perspective, it's like, well, how can I get more of my team or other people to do the day-to-day tasks that I'm doing? So any busy type work, I need to transfer that or have a plan for transferring that out. So that's definitely a mindset. Delegation, and making sure that we're across what we're doing. From an adventuring perspective, I guess it's for me, it's all about freeing up the time so that and having the technology in place so that we can do adventuring and have the business. I want it all. I want to be actively involved in the business. I can see that there's a time where, I have to do trade-offs and I have to work out and say, okay, well, I'm either going to, go on this big walk on shore or I'm going to sit down in my boat and work. We are a little bit of a pariah amongst the cruising yacht community for two reasons. One is that we do the four-letter work, which is called work. Sorry, the four-letter word is work. The people who say, you're working, we're retired or we're taking a sabbatical or we're doing something else, so we don't want to know about that. So we kind of get shunned a little bit from that side of things. Or we're doing work, but we're being able to, have a little bit more freedom as well. So we get shunned by those people who are on shore doing some work as well. So it's kind of like we feel like we're blazing some new ground in a lot of ways, but that's fine. We love blazing new grounds and having adventures and opening ourselves up to new experiences.
And the amazing thing about all this is you're living your life. So regardless of what the expectations of others around you've got your own sense of purpose and you've managed to build your business around your lifestyle, which is really inspiring.
Absolutely. And as I say, a lot of it is design. Most of it is design, but I still feel we've been incredibly lucky and fortunate to be in a position that we're in. We're just grabbing that opportunity with both hands and going for it.
That sounds incredible. So you've also released a book called Unfunk Your Business Finances, which is a very intriguing title. Can you just give us a sneak peek into the key principles or strategies that you discuss and how it can benefit small business owners?
Absolutely. So what Unfunk Your Business Finances is all about, and I believe everyone who's read it says it's an incredibly easy read. You can read it in a couple of hours, and it's trying to get rid of all of the accountant speak in it. But really what it's trying to do is explain to you what a profit and loss is, what a balance sheet is, what financial management should look like, what sort of things should you have in your business to make it function and financially manage responsibly. I guess that's what Your Business Finances is all about. In that very easy way, and I use a case study about a plumber who's getting vans and trying to do things. Now, the idea is so that you can have better discussions with your accountant. Because I know as an accountant that used to run my own practice, people would get that 1,000-yard stare when I started waxing on about this, and this is what the return and margin is, and this is what's happening here, and we've got to consider this. And everyone has the same experience of when their accountant comes up to them and says, congratulations, you've made $200,000 profit. And you look at them and go, I have no idea where that money is. Oh, well, that was because that was 12 months ago or 8 months ago, and that was, you did this and you did this. I'm like, I don't get it. Where's that money? How come I have to pay tax? I didn't really see that money. That's just paper shuffling. So Unfunk Your Business Finances is really about being confident or giving business owners the confidence to have the discussions with the accountant and understand what they're talking about so that they can get more value out of those conversations. Because I think there's a lot of value wasted with the accountant-client relationship. So everything we do in Financial Fanatics is to help transition that so that you can really empower that accountant to have better discussions and decisions so that your business is going to be better, your life is going to be better.
Yeah, and you raise a really important point there, and that's the importance behind having that conversation with your accountant, because I mean we meet with our accountant every single May and have those tax conversations and strategies conversations, so we can really finish off the year as tax effectively as possible, but also set up the following year. And I think for many people who don't get finance, and when you said about eyes glazing over, that's what happens to me whenever we mention superannuation. It's like, oh, legislation, my eyes. I see the newsletter that comes through from my accountant, and as soon as it says SMSF or Asset Super, it's like my eyes do glaze over because it seems so complicated. So when you can have someone explain it to you in such simple terms, this really does help be able to grasp the concepts, so then you can actually then use those areas of business and understand them and make better decisions. So
I think you made an excellent point there from a tax planning perspective. And I used to get every accountant virtually gets their clients in on a May sort of, hopefully not June because there might be things to do, but it's around about May. The work that used to go into preparing for that meeting, because you had to try and get the accounts, get them up to date, understand what was going on so that you could make real practical decisions or discussions or recommendations rather on what the client could do to, minimize their tax that they need to pay or get them prepared for the tax shock that they do need to pay. Now, if you've got really good bookkeeping up to date, then that can really reduce the amount of time, which reduces your cost, or it allows the accountant to spend more time on strategy and less time on just transactional stuff. So, which is really where I think the value is.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I'm teaching my students around property development, one of the first parts we start with is around building your A team. And your A team is certainly your agents and your builders and all the technical people that are involved in creating your product, but it's also very much your accountant and your mortgage broker or your finance team as well. So building that team up is, when you have an A-grade team, it really does enable you to then do what you do best, whether that's doing deals or having another small business or whatever you're at. And that's where I think I certainly feel very, very blessed that I've really got an A-grade finance team for my accountant, but also now for my bookkeeping. So I'm very grateful to what you provide. So
thank you
for that.
Very kind.
Lastly, just to wrap up, do you have any words of wisdoms or tips for people who are thinking about, I guess, restructuring the finance of their business or engaging a bookkeeper, or what they can be doing to try and help them look after that side of their business better?
Yeah, I think so. Amanda, I've just finished writing a blog article, which is going to be part of a masterclass that I do on responsible financial management and what it means, because I totally agree with you. I think there's still some misunderstandings there's a lot of misunderstanding from business owners to know exactly what good financial management looks like and even why they should bother. So really having the understanding of who should be doing what and when, I think, is vital for the lifeblood of any business. Now, anyone can make some money on a quick transaction, not necessarily know what to do with that money, and maybe they don't set aside enough for tax or whatever, but anyone can do that. To have longevity in business, you need to have responsible financial management. So I think really the advice I would give when they're looking at it is, do you know what you're trying to achieve? And have you, as you said, have you put together your A list of your financial management team? Because you don't need to do it all yourself. You can engage someone like Financial Fanatics or other excellent bookkeepers that are around the place. Cloud Accounting lets you choose someone from anywhere, as long as they're Australian registered and etc. But they can do from anywhere. They can help you with your business. Make sure your accountant knows what you're doing and what your business is all about. And if you've got good bookkeeping, then they can do that a lot better. And then things like having the right finance broker in place that can, not ask you the same questions the same time every single time you want to do a different transaction, all that sort of stuff that I know you teach and preach. So that's what I would really say. It's really about getting that grip on what you think responsible financial management looks like for the longevity of your business, and then really actioning that, not by working harder, but by working a lot smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds amazing. And especially when you're doing projects, right? When you have got your monthly or your quarterly BAS, by being able to have all your systems in place, whether from a technology perspective or your your bookkeeping and accounting team to be able to process those balances quickly so you can get that injection of cash in to help manage your cash flow of a project is really fundamental. So for anybody, whether you're starting out in property development or you're an experienced developer, this is just part of doing business, having a really strong financial foundation. So really grateful to have you on the show here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, Scott, and also sharing some inspiration about a true lifestyle business with how you live and run your business. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll certainly put in the show notes if you want to explore Financial Fanatics further. We'll put some links in the show notes as well so you can reach out to Scott to learn more. But hopefully you've taken something away here that's made you think differently about how you run your business financially. But certainly I hope this helps give you that visibility to run your business better and grow your business better. So thanks so much for your time, Scott.
It's been my absolute pleasure, Amanda. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for listening. This is Building Lifestyles, a show designed to help everyday Australians create a lifestyle that inspires them using property development strategies. This podcast was produced by the Rising Star Developer. We've been helping Australians realise their financial and lifestyle goals since 2020. We play a pivotal role in educating, supporting and celebrating the goals and successes of our students and our community. To find out how we can help you realise your property, wealth and lifestyle goals, head to our website www.risingstardeveloper.com.au. To make sure you don't miss an episode of Building Lifestyles, be sure to subscribe to and follow the show in your favourite podcast app. And while you're there, leave us a 5-star review as it really helps others find the show. I'm Amanda McEwen and we'll be back next episode with more tips on how you can build your lifestyle.